Secretary Basera, thank you for coming today. As some of my colleagues have mentioned, your impatience to place undocumented children with sponsors at a faster rate than your caseworkers could handle placed thousands of kids in dangerous conditions where they were exploited for labor. Kids as young as 12, some even died. This is a chilling failure of leadership, but the president has decided to keep you on board, as we have an obligation to the American people to work together. So let's make sure this never happens again. Yes or no, do you commit yourself and your staff to working with me and committee staff on this issue that includes providing us materials which can educate us as to how the sponsorship process has been abused?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question, and we have been working directly with the committee and members on this committee in the past. We look forward to working with you to make sure that we are doing everything possible to protect the children who are in our care.
Have you reviewed how to improve the vetting process for sponsors since the New York Times story, and what improvements have you made to date?
Congresswoman, we've been reviewing the vetting process since I became secretary, because it's an ongoing process. The circumstances have changed, as you would know, very dramatically. In 2021, there were large numbers of children in our care. Today, the number is greatly smaller. And so what we're trying to do is constantly be on top of what it takes to make sure that we care for the kids who are in our temporary custody well, but we also make the right placements once they are able to go out into the community.
Okay, so with that being said, you've concluded which areas do you think Congress needs to address? And aside from comprehensive immigration reform, which we're already doing that with the Dignity Act, well, tell me, where can Congress help you?
I appreciate the question. And there's a very simple answer to that, because many of the questions many of your colleagues have asked are, why are we not accounting for children? I keep trying to explain that we only have jurisdiction based on what Congress has given us. Someone has to be able to account for these kids in a better way, these migrant children who are ending up working in these exploitive conditions. We don't have the authority to check up on them, to follow up and require them to check in with us, as a foster care program might have with a U.S. citizen child. If you want to help us, make sure that someone in the federal government, maybe it's not HHS, maybe you decide it's the Department of Labor, maybe you decide it's done through the states, but there's a gap. When we have the kids in our custody, they're not exploited in a labor workplace. Once we place them with a parent or a close relative, we don't have jurisdiction. Who will make sure that they're accounted for or taken care of? There's the gap. And I would hope that rather than make accusations, members would try to work with us to make sure that if they really care about kids, we are making sure that they're accounted for. Who has jurisdiction?
So let me add on to that. Talk to me a little bit about the child labor space. Within your department's jurisdiction, what areas would you be willing to partner with me and the committee to strengthen those guardrails needed to protect these kids?
We can work with you right now we're working with the Department of Labor. They're trying to give us any signals if there's some signs that a particular person who might want to sponsor a child, or in particular areas of the country, we see that type of exploitive behavior. If we get that information early, we can have then the red flag go off if someone is seeking to sponsor a child who fits that profile or lives in that area. We can work with you if it happens to be in your congressional district, or if you're interested in helping us merge and better tie the work that the different agencies can do. And then where you really can help us, get the local agencies, the state and local agencies, the licensing care facilities at the state level, the community organizations that work with families, migrant kids, to work closely with you and with us to make sure that we're all trying to do this seamlessly, so there is no gap in who's accounting for these children.
Thank you. I think there's little words that can describe the anger that we all felt when we read the New York Times story and when it broke. We do feel like there was a betrayal of trust for our most vulnerable kids in this country. And you know, they're surrounded by those strange faces. And I just can't imagine that for my own kids or anybody else's kids. So I do expect that I will work with you, but I do expect that you'll honor those commitments that you've made to me today. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield back.